Hi, my name is Edna. I'm a mother of two. Both my children, James and Juliette, they are both from Muse Arts and they took part in the Muse Arts production. Yeah, so I guess James had a really good experience. The last time he performed was actually at Hillian for Christmas, and that was a year back, but that was a smaller scale and he was really young. This time around at 3.5, he's a lot more aware, and I think this experience being on stage, it's a good way for him to build stage confidence, for him to go in front of people, to really develop himself in terms of how he would like to present himself. And ramble, like a lot of the things that he learned in classes. So it's a lot of discipline as well. Back at home, sometimes he would, tune into some of the songs and he would do some of the actions to practice. So I think the good thing about Muse Arts is it's very consistent. Every time they come for classes, they learn the same thing to reinforce what they've learned, to prepare them for the big day. And I think that's really helpful because for a child like James' age, it's about consistency and it's about a lot of regular reinforcing. And I think it's a very fun and meaningful experience, and I'm so glad that he had this opportunity. Before I enrolled James in Muse Arts, I looked around at some of the music classes that's available, and I know that there are not many schools that provide such platforms and opportunities. So I think learning music is one thing, exploring music, it's one aspect of learning and character development. But the Young Talent Program actually allows them to explore another aspect, which is character building. Because when you go on stage, they need to learn about teamwork. They need to be aware of the surrounding. They need to be able to work with their friends. A lot of the movements, if I remember correctly, allows them to have to switch spots and switch places. So it's a lot about having to work with each other. And I think that's something that I feel that this program offers that is very valuable. Of course, being able to go on stage and learning the discipline to be with people that they are familiar with but not entirely comfortable with because there are a lot of new faces. To be able to be independent and to manage themselves, it's also a very good learning experience for James. James was born in 2020, so that's during the COVID period. So I think for the first 1 year, we didn't bring him out a lot, and he has very limited opportunities to socialize with people. So when he went to school, I remember when he first started preschool, he cried for close to, I think, a year.
Oh.
Yeah. And in fact, when he first started with Muse Arts, the first few months were quite hard for him too. But this Young Talent Program and regular engagements with the teachers and with all these parents and students, I think allow him to now really find this place as a comfort zone where he's comfortable to be himself. James has a very good beat. He loves music, but for him to be able to express himself and do it well, I think being comfortable and confident is something that has to come together. And Muse Arts has allowed that to happen, so I'm really glad. I didn't think that they could make it because we had to start the day quite early. I think we started at 9, and I think the last performance was at 4. So it was like a full day for them. James goes to school, but he used to take naps in the afternoon, so I wasn't sure how could that be for him. I would say first, Muse Arts has a really strong community because I remember on the day of the performance, it was raining. And a lot of people had trouble getting to that venue. So we had this group chat that Muse Arts set up, and a lot of people were saying hey, I can't get a cab. And we managed to partner another mom, and she came over to pick my kids up to the venue. So I think the community is excellent, having this strong community, the support, I think that's excellent. And having James there, I think it's also an extension of the community because some of the parents volunteer there, and of course there are the teachers, and I think I know that he was in good hands, but I wasn't sure about the nap. But I did go backstage and pick at him, and I saw some kids taking nap in between. Parents and the teachers were doing their best to hype up the kids. There were a lot of songs, a lot of like snacks going around. I think everyone was really trying to put in really good efforts, keeping the kids engaged and making sure that they stay energetic for the next performance. So I'm glad to see that James managed to last through the day, even though I think towards the end he was a little bit tired, but I guess for the good part of it, he really enjoyed himself and just mingling around with like kids of other ages, different groups backstage. That was a really good experience. I know James made a few friends. My daughter who was there, she made a few friends too. They hang out even after the performance while taking pictures. Like the kids they wanted to take pictures with each other. They forged quite a good friendship even during that few hours backstage. Watching the rehearsal and the actual day performances, my mom was there with me, but we're just impressed by how much work actually goes into making this whole production a success. It was really all hands on deck, from backstage to like all the support staff. Everybody was very supportive. There were good energy throughout the whole day. Even though there were so many things going on, the priority were on the kids. I could see that there were a lot of efforts, and parents and teachers were really putting in a lot of time, making sure that the kids were okay. There were a few kids that were a little bit fussy and crying because, especially those who were really young, but everyone was so patient, and I think that makes all the difference. I was watching James as an audience, and at 3.5 years old, they always say that kids are very different with their parents and at home and where they are, in a classroom setting. I don't always have the opportunity to bring him for classes, and sometimes I drop him off and then I go off and do my own things. So watching him perform on stage was a very heartwarming and touching time for me, to see that my child, despite sometimes he's a little bit cheeky and he doesn't listen to instruction, he was able to follow instructions really well. He was able to be part of a big group. He was able to follow what have been taught, and I think that's amazing because that shows maturity. And I am very glad that at 3.5 years old he was able to do that, and more importantly, he has had the opportunity to develop that. I think James will be taking Muse Arts for a long time, until I think the maximum age is 9.
Oh yes.
Maybe until he's 9. Yeah, so I know this place has the right teachers and right environment, and I hope to keep him here for long.